Life is simply not our greatest teacher. We are. Taking an active role in your life and becoming the teacher that the circumstances, good or bad, do not teach you the finer things in life is an active role to take and a perspective shift I think everyone can step into. So I want to step into being the teacher at the front of the classroom. You, yourself, me, holding a piece of chalk in front of a blank chalkboard. That is life. We're presented with students, bad things, good lessons, great people, betrayal. These events in life are all simply students raising their hands, aiming to answer the question that we ask of life. What is our purpose? What is the meaning in this life? What are we looking for? Because what we find in situations is merely a matter of perspective. What we find in students attempting to answer the toughest questions of life on the chalkboard is what matters. What we find in those moments is up to us, not up to life. And life is not the teacher. We are not passive. We do not receive only feedback. We process that feedback and we harness it for good, changing our own perspective and changing other people's lives. So in this analogy, standing at the front of the classroom as the teacher, you, yourself, and me, we're all simply taking in what the students have to offer. So when the class clown raises his hand for the third time, are you going to call on that situation of life to teach you something that you haven't learned the first 2 times? That person in your life is not taking you seriously? That only answers when it's convenient for a joke to pop up? Or are you going to take your chances and call on the person in the back of the room? The kid in the back of the room that no one knows besides you, based on their test answers, has wonderful answers to say. Are you going to take that chance in life today to look somewhere you haven't looked for an answer you've been yearning for? And so, holding on to the chalk at the front of the room, you hold all power. When you present a question to life, when you get feedback from life, you interpret that feedback. You have the writing and the ability to move on to the next situation to teach you something else in the next chapter of life. You have the ability to control the environment in the room, the ability to control the vibe, to dictate the learning to the students, to bring the aha moment to your own life on the board. Because sometimes a student in our lives raises their hand with an unexpected answer, especially in a wide open question that we're about to present to the class. What do we think this book means to us? Students in our lives and people in our lives that come across us are a product of a million interactions. So when you open yourself up to asking the tough questions and learning from those people in our lives, we exponentially multiply our evolution and ability to garner experience in this life. Honoring everyone's perspective as valuable can multiply out what we receive in this life faster than you can imagine. Because if everyone's a product of your experience, why wouldn't you want to have an open view of the world through so many people? Because when you choose that perspective, your life changes. When someone you come across turns into an opportunity to learn something, your day becomes about learning. You can spin everything positively. That person who cut you off is not there to teach you to be angry. They're there to teach you patience. And if you're following along, you're understanding this growth process can happen very quickly. It's a perspective shift as the teacher, the chalk holder in your own life that you can really start to lean into. How am I going to answer the question of life today? What am I going to find in life? Because you might find out that student in the back of the room, they have an abusive household, and that's why they don't speak up. And maybe a situation in your life has been abusive, has brought you sorrow. But that doesn't mean that you don't have something to learn from them, that they might have an answer for what you're looking for. You may have asked for patience. You may have asked for guidance. But wrong direction is still direction. So control your own school environment. Control your chalkboard. Because at the end of the day, when the bell rings, all of those students are going to leave the room, the experiences, and you're going to be left in your bed looking up at the ceiling by yourself as a product of what you took away from them. And if you lay down every night finding a perspective of gratitude from every single person and every single bad situation, every single good situation, you've learned a lot. You've learned a lot about yourself. And you have a lot more to teach others. You have a patience for others because they're there to teach you something and redirect you. And so when you have your chalkboard at the end of your own life, you're going to be there with yourself. The class clown is not going to be there. The writing on the board will be. And so what will you choose to write from your experiences, and what will you choose to pass on to others? What message will you give? Will it be one of anger? Will it be one of patience? Or will you choose to harness the millions of multiplied perspectives that every person has to offer you every day? And so I want to expand upon this idea in my own life because I've been terrified of being defined by a diagnosis, by a couple of words that define my sickness, that define me. But I want to transform that and take a first step to give you guys a perspective shift. And to those of you who have reached out to me, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your kind words. And thank you for asking if I need something. But what I'm looking for in this life, when the students in my own classroom, the students in my own classroom are raising their hands, I want to be defined by who I am and what message I have to give. Because when the student in the back of the room raised his hand and said, "You're going to be on your knees begging for mercy, in front of a mirror, brushing your teeth, looking at yourself in the mirror with a shaved head, thinking about the kids on TV that look sick, and now you look in the mirror and you're one of them, and you can't stand the sight of yourself in front of the mirror because you're sad for yourself. You're sad that this has happened to you. You're more sad for the people around you when they change the way they look at you. And they can't help it because you changed. A disease has changed you. But the name of a disease will never change who I am or what I have to offer. And I don't want this show, I don't want the podcast, and I don't want my vision of life to be dictated and told by a story of negative labels. I want to tell my story anyway. I didn't set out to build a following because of something that happened to me. I set out to share a perspective with people because of what I have to offer. And this is my way of turning to the chalkboard and writing my own message in life. That this has taught me how to answer the questions of life, how to answer my own purpose on this earth, a perspective shift that I want to share with you, that I want to define me, and I want to help you define your own self, how you interact with the world, and even if it's just a minute that you take out of your day, 10 minutes you take to listen to me. I want to change the way you view an opportunity in life, to take a passive role and make it active, to become the person at your own chalkboard. And so by sharing things and defining my journey by labels or what's going to happen to me based on science, that's not the story I want to tell. That's not what I want to put on my chalkboard. Because when I'm left alone to my own chalkboard, I want to be left with a message. That I left the world a better place. That I left the world that listened, that had a different viewpoint on the world. That I shared a perspective, thoughts that are silent, thoughts that everyone thinks, and put them in the world into words that some people are unable to. And as I continue my journey throughout survival, pain, medications, I want to be defined by the things that I love. And the things that I love are conversation. We're going to get some guests on here. I'm going to talk to people because I love to talk to people and hear perspectives that can change other people's views. Empower other people to view themselves as the teacher of their own life. And so I want to share a final message with you. When you stand in front of the chalkboard and you look at what's happening in your life, the students, the heartbeat of the classroom, where can you find somebody in that room, a circumstance or an opportunity that's going to walk out after that bell rings, but you're going to be in there by yourself with your eyes closed looking at your black chalkboard at night? That's where you're going to be. So choose a positive, world-changing perspective to take from everything that happens to you. Write your own story. Because everybody's chalk's going to run out someday. And every stroke matters. Everything you choose to put down holds weight on your own shoulders. When the bell rings and you close the door and the silence swallows you up, what will you have written with your time here? How will you have chose to live, not just survive? Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.